My name is Bob Newman. I am the chair of the University Senate this year somehow. And we know how that works. And I will be your host for this session. As you all know, it's been challenging meeting in person for the last few years, and we're excited to get people in the same room again. We do have a bunch of people online, I hope. We also know that there's a lot of great things going on campus this year, and we're going to hear a little bit about some of that in this session. So we'll go ahead and get started. See if this thing works. All right, there's our agenda. You've all seen this if you've been online. We're going to hear from several of our deans about things going on in their colleges, and we're going to get the State of the University address today as well from President Armacost, and a little bit of an update on strategic planning, which probably a lot of you have been involved in. All right, that'll work. Just really quickly, because I'm sure everybody has seen this before in one setting or another, but the University Council is the legislative body of the university. The University Senate takes care of the business of the University Council. And of course, the UND President is sitting there at the top of the pyramid as the chief leader of the university. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this, but why don't you go on to the next one? The Senate continues to do the work that of shared governance and helping to move forward the mission of the university along with everybody at this university. Why don't you go on to the next one? All right, and what we're going to do though is I think we'll hear from each of the deans, and then along the way, we're going to hear a lot of the highlights of what's been happening in recent days. So first up, Dean Henley.
Hello. Hi, I am Amy Henley. I'm the Dean of the Nistler College of Business and Public Administration here at the University of North Dakota. And first of all, welcome to Nistler Hall. Thank you for being here. This was our dream, and now you're sitting in part of our reality. I know many of you on campus have waited many years for this to become a reality. I think the first gift was 10 years ago. And then to now have this incredible opportunity to educate students and connect with the community in this building, we're very proud of. So we had a lot of events to celebrate because it had been a long time coming. If you could advance. So homecoming kind of wore us all out. No, not you, President. So, destroyed. Yeah. So it was an amazing, amazing week to celebrate. We had I'll mention 72 named spaces in this building, and we did many ribbon cuttings for every one of those. And thankfully, President Armacost told the donors to cut first and talk later. Because we were running from one grand opening and one ribbon cutting to the next. But we are incredibly proud. We had an exceptional homecoming week, and we are continuing to host events in this building that we never had the opportunity to do so before. So just the other day, we had a financial awareness summit a few weeks back, an Olafson Ethics Symposium, and they were both in this room. And one thing that I appreciated is people would come in this room and say, it looks completely different than when I was in here for this event versus this one. So we're very grateful for the flexibility in the design. Coming forward, we have a few other events. We have a Be Bold Women's Leadership Summit that we will have in the spring, as well as our Beta Gamma Sigma introduction, our induction ceremony, and a career fair going forward. So. We've had a busy year. Not only have we moved into a new home, but we've been working on several initiatives as well too. We had a new faculty handbook that took us a couple of years to consolidate several other documents into one overall handbook. We are very, very proud of that handbook because our prior documents at best did not speak to one another, and at worst, they were in contradiction to one another. So from a workload and a faculty reward standpoint, we feel like we are in a much better position to evaluate contribution and to allow our faculty to contribute in areas where they will be most successful. Our mentor program and our Pankratz Career Development Center has had a record year, and we have over 800 items of clothing in our Pankratz Career Professional Closet that has impacted right now 375 students this year in counting. That faculty handbook gave us the opportunity to have different workload allocations and accompany that with different research expectations and different teaching expectations or service expectations. That differential staffing model was not in effect prior to that, and we are particularly excited about that handbook allowing individuals and faculty to make an impact in however they are best suited. So we finalized it in February of 22, and now, starting this semester, it is fully in effect. We also, our journal quality list, we update that every 3 years. That activity happened through the end of the spring semester and into the summer. We're very proud that the departments and the faculty were intimately involved with the creation of that list. And so we have different levels of journals, but providing the impact in the different disciplines. I included, I won't read all the numbers of students for you, but basically we have stayed relatively flat in terms of number of undergraduate students. We've grown by about 1% on our undergraduate level. Our graduate level, we've seen a fall. Part of that is due, a large amount of that is due to the COVID increases we saw during COVID times. A lot of people, and you've probably seen this in other colleges, graduate education increased considerably during that time. So while we've had great numbers in our MBA program, they've continued to stay steady, but we haven't been able to capture that incredible growth. During the COVID year, we had 100% growth in our MBA program. So you can see the impact that's had on student credit hours, and the fiscal outlook allows us to be relatively stable. One thing I'm most proud of financially is that we offered $1.3 million in scholarships this year. We also had a successful AACSB accreditation visit. That was a big initiative, even while we were trying to move into this building, to also be getting ready for an accreditation visit. We have new programs online in management and marketing and political science. Our accounting program, these are all undergrad, are also coming online. So we are trying to reach those students as well in an attempt to grow. And one thing about this building is that we were starting it right before COVID. And then, of course, as you all know, we went home for the semester in March of 20, or what we thought was 2 weeks, right? And so one thing I worried about was the completion of a building when we were running the university, everybody from our homes. But one thing we were given the opportunity to do is modify our technology budget in such a way that all 20 classrooms in this building will be synchronous available. They're not now because of supply chain issues. So if the technology today isn't as good as it will be when all the equipment gets in, but when we get done next May of 23, every classroom in the building can easily flip to a synchronous delivery. Now I'll read you all 50 of these numbers. No. Just showing, I wanted to show here the different majors that we had and the differences across. We have a large number of our students in management, marketing, and finance, the traditional business disciplines, but we also have growing numbers in political science and public affairs, entrepreneurship, a new minor we have in professional sales. So this is just a breakdown. On the next slide, you'll see that our students are pretty well dispersed across all of our different areas of study. And finally, we are especially proud of the support we receive from our alumni, our friends. Our endowments are over 70 million right now. That's allowed us to have this beautiful building, but it's also allowed us to distribute those scholarships I discussed and have 17 endowed professor positions. So we are incredibly grateful to our alumni and friends. So thank you for the time to update on the Nistler College, but thank you for being here, most importantly.
Thank you, Dean Henley. That was one of the nice things about this meeting today is I got to come over to this building. I haven't been here before, so that was very nice to see. Next up, Dean Kraus of the John D. Odegard School of Aerospace Sciences.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to come and talk about the great things going on in the School of Aerospace Sciences. I'm going to start with the other departments first before we get to the big one, the aviation department. So I'm going to start with space studies. We had a large increase in master's students last year, and we're seeing an increase in PhD students this year. But overall, the graduate student numbers are down while we kind of stabilize. We're increasing the number of faculty in the department. We hired one this summer to teach hypersonics and space propulsion. We're still looking, we're hiring a military space person right now. We're in the process of bringing that person on board. And then we're looking for a satellite person that will complete our set as part of the National Security Initiative here. And so that'll complete our space studies group for hiring. We're working on a space operations undergraduate degree to potentially start next fall or the fall after that. And so we're already offering the space studies minor. We're now looking to expand that to a major, but then we're also working closely with the College of Engineering and Mines with their aerospace engineering program. They would have aerospace engineering and we would have space operations. And so they would be the engineering design, we would be the operators and the workforce that are going off to work and do and handle what they do. Pablo De Leon, our department chair, has established a human space habitability lab in Cape Canaveral, Florida. And so he's back and forth between those two. He did miss the launch this week of Artemis 1. But one of the things and contacts he's made along the way is we got access to one of the 2 spacesuits that's going to be going to Mars. And then I think it's also going to be going to the moon. And so one of the companies came here because the expertise we have in spacesuit research. And then we worked in conjunction with the kinesiology department where they put the sensors all over the suit and they filmed it to look at the motion of the suit and everything like that. And so we're well integrated into humans in space. And so we're looking to expand that. Speaking of humans on other planets, the inflatable lunar Mars analog habitat, the ILMA, has conducted 2 missions this fall already, one of which I don't know if you've heard, we are renting that space out, not on VRBO or Airbnb. However, we're working with American Public University, specifically American Military University. They're doing research also. And so they've been out 2 or 3 times now to run a 2 or 3 week session in there, simulating that they're on another planet when they do. And then we're building a space operations classroom, which we're waiting for the logistics and supply chain to catch up. So as soon as we have all the IT equipment in place, it's basically going to become a space operations center where students are going to learn about orbital mechanics as well as operating satellites in space, and then also looking at space debris and space mitigation, those types of things. Earth system science and policy. How many of you knew that North Dakota is the #1 producer of honey in the nation? Well, there we go. Wow. Okay. Kind of surprising if you're not from North Dakota. You're like, really? That's interesting. So one of the people we hired this year is a postdoc whose PhD is in range science, and her specialty is actually in bees. And so she's here working on research to look at livestock and pollination and bees, and how do we make that work from an Earth system science perspective. And so we're looking for great things out of that. We're also, in addition to the Masters of Science and the PhD program, which we've had for several years, Last year, we added the Masters of Environmental Management, the MEM degree, which is another opportunity for students. And then I do want to mention, we do still offer the minor in sustainability science. And I want to specifically mention, we do offer the ESSP 160 course in sustainability and society, which counts as an essential studies class for social science, and the ESSP 200 course in sustainability science, which is part of the math, science, technology requirement. And so we have two of those sustainability courses that do fit in with the essential studies requirements. And then our faculty and students continue to operate a community garden. Atmospheric science, we do still have the camera on both sides of the building that's on the Weather Channel almost every single day. And as my mother tells me, she also sees it on Good Morning America. So post-COVID, we also started our storm chasing class, and then our faculty are continuing to do research in blowing snow, which is pretty easy to do around here. He's actually looking at snowflakes, but also the blowing snow and blizzards and things like that. So Aaron Kennedy's doing that work. And then Dave Deline is continuing to do weather modification work. And so we're also trying to affect more of the rain and hail and things like that. The other part of the atmospheric science program is our broadcast meteorology. And if you watch any of our local TV stations, you've likely seen one of our broadcasters on TV. Some of our recent alum that I'll point out. So how many of you have seen Lydia Bloom in the morning? So Lydia Bloom's a 2018 grad. Not only that, she recently won an Emmy for the upper Midwest region for weather broadcasting. So congratulations to her. Dylan Vogt, he's had a lot more airtime recently. He's one of our recent graduates, just graduated this spring. Justin Storms on WDAY AM radio, Max Mueller, 2019, KVRR. He's the chief meteorologist. Now, students, we have students on TV. So Lauren Larson was on all summer long on KVRR. Blake Rafferty, which we met at Wake Up UND. Great job that he's done there. He's actually a junior. Well, he's a senior, going to graduate in the spring. And Shelby Ebertowski are both on either KVRR or KVLY. So congratulations to them. And then Summer Schnellbach. She's also a longtime broadcaster. She's a UND alum also. So moving on to the aviation department. So enrollment wise, we're doing well. So since 2015, we've seen a 40% increase in the number of students. What that means is we're big. And we've reached the cap of how many students that we can support. And it's not a support from the academic side of things, it's a support from the flying side of things. So we've had some news articles that talk about how many flight hours we've had in a given year. We've broken our records the last 2 years in a row. But what that means is we are at our capacity for the number of airplanes we can get up in the air. Some of you may have been affected by the closure of the runway in September. We're affected by no-fly November, which we're currently experiencing. And so the students are getting a little bit behind because of this, but that's why we're trying to control enrollment. So a year ago, we did cap enrollment for this fall. So we stopped enrollment at about 1,000 students admitted to the program. What that did is it made ourselves an exclusive program, and now we have a higher yield rate. And so we're trying to balance those numbers and trying to control them for the coming years that we're still able to provide a quality program. In terms of how busy we are about as busy as Seattle's airport, and we are significantly busier than Minneapolis, if you can believe that, in terms of the number of takeoffs and landings that we have now. Number of passengers, no. We don't, as if you've flown out of here yet, we're not flying that many passengers. We did hire 5 new faculty this year, 4 new adjunct faculty, and we're hiring 5 new faculty for next fall also. So as with the growth of the program, we're also looking to grow the faculties to support that on our side. To support that from a facilities perspective, we made a number of facilities upgrades across all of the programs. So our air traffic control, 2 tower simulators and our en route simulator were all upgraded this summer. So we have basically the state of the art for our simulator training for our air traffic control and basically all of our aviation students to take that. We are seeing an increase in the number, a small increase in the number of our ATC students. The nice thing for them is we're seeing their career pathway pick up speed a little bit. We had a lull in the FAA hiring those students into it, and we're seeing that increase again, which is a good thing. We purchased a helicopter spatial disorientation trainer. So what does that mean? It's a helicopter simulator that spins, but it's closed, and so they don't know it's spinning. And so you can get completely spatially disoriented inside the simulator. The advantage of it is you're not in an actual helicopter, which means you can't actually crash. The other interesting thing about it is there are none outside of the U.S. Army in the United States available for people to train in. So that means our helicopter students are coming out here out of this program as some of the most trained, qualified. Now, we only have 70 helicopter students. So how many hours are they going to fly in the simulator? Not a whole lot, which means we have a lot of excess capacity, and there is a significant commercial need for the simulator. So we're going to be operating a lot of commercial courses for it to help prevent accidents like the Kobe Bryant crash. That was a preventable crash from spatial disorientation. And so we're hoping to train more pilots across the industry to do that. We added a new jet simulator. So it is an Airbus-ish or Boeing-ish. It's not a specific type, which allowed us to get a price discount on it to our program, which means all of our aviation students that are going to the airlines will have some large airplane experience when they leave here. And so that's actually being installed. I think the French company is coming next week to get that going. We also enhanced our living learning community. So we have a very successful living learning community. And one of the things we did is we bought a new simulator for them. Basically, it's a computer setup, not one of our really fancy sims, but one of the lower end sims we purchased, and it's going to go into the dorms for them to use when they want to, as well as one of our virtual reality airplane sims is going to go into the dorm for those freshmen to practice on. Last fall, we started an aviation safety and operations degree. Started it slowly. It has taken off. Literally. And so the number of students that are getting into that are loving it. The nice thing about it is we have a very strong partnership with GE Digital, which provides all of the safety management software for the airlines. And so our students are learning on the software that the airlines are using. Not only that, we have a partnership with at least one, if not more coming, of those airlines for our students to work on their problems. And so they're helping one in particular. Weekly, they're having meetings with an airline with the technical operations side of things, helping them solve the problems that airline is trying to work through. UAS program continues to grow. Lots of great partnerships going on there. One in particular, our UND Aerospace Foundation purchased some land southwest of Grand Forks. It's about 15 miles out. It's basically going to be an unmanned, non-runway UAS airfield. And so there's a need for that for all of the quadcopter and other types of UAS that don't need a full runway that they would go out to Grand Sky and the Air Force Base for. And so we've already had customers out there. In fact, there was a customer out yesterday flying, and the building's not even complete yet. They just wanted some space to do it, and we have the space to do it. And so there was the company Aerial Robotics was out there. With support from the state of North Dakota in the last legislative session, we got money to finish up the ramp repair at the airport. That is now complete. And surprisingly, it was a construction project that came in under budget. Significantly under budget, and enough to the point where we're still able to use the rest of that money to continue to do construction projects at the airport. And so we're looking at continuing to fix some parking lots and improve some parking for the students that are out there. So we're excited about that. Speaking of the airport, we did complete the design for a new flight operations building. We are ready to dig, ready to demolish. We just need the funding to do it. So we're working with the UND Alumni Association and Foundation to find the funds to help us get the donors to step forward. We did get a donor step forward to give us a $5 million matching gift. So it's Cy Robin that donated for Robin Hall. So we have to come up with 10 million to get access to his 5 million. And so that's going to be well on our way to potentially getting that. And so we have some donors that we're working to potentially become that named donor, which would really help things out. We have had some alums start stepping up to get us those smaller, like as you walk through Nistler, it's like every room in this building like has a name on it, right? So we're starting to get that level of sponsorship from donors. The alum are fantastic. Airline pathway programs are going strong. We are the largest single supplier of students to Delta Airlines for the Delta Propel program, as well as the United Aviate program. And so when they do a kickoff, they'll go to all the universities that are part of the program, then they'll bring that cohort that they hire from everybody down to Delta or to United. And when they ask students to stand up from the particular schools, UND, and it's like an entire group of students, an entire section gets to stand up. And so it's a fantastic opportunity for us, and they've been great partners. We did add Frontier Airlines to our list this year. I think we are the only university partnered with Frontier. The advantage of that is our graduates will go to Frontier, get trained. They don't actually start flying the line right away. So they actually come back to us. And so we can either use them as simulator instructors or flight instructors at the airport. And then before they actually start flying with the airline. So that's a great partnership. And then NetJets has given us a scholarship for airline transport pilot certificate ratings. So students will go to NetJets to flight safety, get their ATP training before they come back, finish with us, and then potentially go to NetJets. Several other research initiatives. The big one we're working on right now is changing to unleaded fuel. So we've been running leaded aviation gas. That's the standard for general aviation aircraft. We made an agreement to switch completely to unleaded fuel. The problem we have right now is a supply chain issue. The supplier of our leaded fuel found out about it and is underpricing the market. And so it's an incredible economic story going on right here because we have the cheapest avgas in the country right now, which is great for our students, but not good for the environment and the industry because the FAA and industry are making a strong push to get rid of leaded avgas, aviation gasoline, and switch to the unleaded fuel. If you do want to try it out in your car, it is for sale at the Northdale gas station across 32nd Avenue on the highway. That is the supplier that would ship the fuel to us. We have a number of other sustainability issues that we're looking at on the aviation front. One in particular is we're looking at, could we potentially switch to an electric airplane fleet? So we're not there yet, but we are in talks to do that to say, okay, will it work in North Dakota? There's not a lot. We're starting to see more electric cars on the road. And so as we start to build that fleet out, as we start to see electric trucks on the interstate, as we start to see that industry grow here in the state, are electric airplanes something we can do? Last winter, President Armacost got to participate in the Red Bull Paper Wings Paper Airplane Regional Championship. We had a bunch of students show up on a Saturday, make a paper airplane contest for longest distance, longest duration. 2 students declared the winner. They get to go to Denver to the national championship. Turns out one of our students finished second in one of the contests. The first place person didn't have a passport. So our student got a free trip to Vienna, Austria for making a paper airplane on a Saturday morning. So it's just some great opportunities for the students that are out there. Speaking of our other competition teams, our National Intercollegiate Flying Association, our NIFA flying team, they took second place for the second year in a row to Embry-Riddle Prescott. But what's interesting about the national championship this year, people had previously said no one would ever break 500 points in the competition. This year, both Embry-Riddle Prescott and UND broke 500 points. We were at 550 and 560 respectively, and third place was at like 200. It was that dominant at nationals. At the regional championship, which was just recently last month, we took first, second, and third place in almost every category. So some of the other schools that are in that region don't like us. Aerobatic championships, that is just a calendar-based competition that's coming to an end, and it appears right now like we're going to get second place again. Speaking of alumni, in July we hosted a large alumni and friends event at EAA AirVenture in Oshkosh. An awesome event to have that number of our graduates come through, and then we also got to celebrate with we had some students that got a James Ray scholarship to be summer camp counselors at Oshkosh all summer long, giving flights and aviation training to students, elementary school and middle school students. And so the counselors had a great time, and then they get a scholarship for the fall semester out of that. We also, during homecoming this year, one of our aerospace alum, Paul Salick, received one of the Young Alumni Achievement Awards. He, along with his wife, Lindsay, who was also a UND alum, built and run All in Aviation in Henderson, Nevada. They offer flight training, certifications, aircraft rentals, and sales. We also had our UND Aerospace Hall of Fame that same week while your building opening was going on. We were having our Hall of Fame. We inducted Lyle Parker from the class of 1970 and Eric Poole from the class of 1990. It was in that talk that Lyle Parker gets up and he starts talking about Gamble Hall, and he starts talking about this design on the side of the building. And all of a sudden we're like, we remember there was a picture going around, and what does it say? Well, Lyle says it's punch code, because Lyle had been an accounting major. And it was a punch code design. Was you said it was UND, or was it Gamble Hall? Okay. So, all right, it is punch code on the side of the building. So it is, I agree, that's really cool. So that's good. Now on to some of our student run events. So last month we had our students put together a Faces of the Industry diversity and aviation event. So it's the second time we've done this, and basically it is an entirely student run event. So all of our student affinity organizations, from the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, the National Gay Pilots Association, the Latino Pilots Association, Professional Asian Pilots Association, and the Women in Aviation International. All of those groups all came together to get this on. We actually got leaders, the national leadership from every one of those organizations, including diversity leaders from several airlines and other organizations involved in that. And it was an entire day of just talking about diversity in the aviation industry. So it was a great day to do that. And then just concluding a few hours ago, starting yesterday morning, we had our Aviation Mental Health Summit. And so this was supported by the John Hauser Fund following the act, which was established last year after our accident. Another great event, we had representation from the Federal Air Surgeon's Office, airlines, industry, and professional organizations. And so we also had 6 other schools actually braved the weather to make it in, and now they're trying to figure out how to get out of here. So, but it was a great visit with all of them. And so it was also the official kickoff. We've now established a student peer support program, which is like above the green bandana program, where those students have some mental health first aid training, and they are the people that our students can go to when they want to talk to somebody specifically about aviation related concerns. The other thing along with that, we did hire, in a coordination with the counseling center, we have a counselor full-time in the college now that we're sharing with the University Counseling Center. And the University Counseling Center and the student clinic have been fantastic to work with. In fact, some things that came out of this session, we had a great meeting with Dr. Wynn in the medical school. We're looking at, do we become a hub for research on aviation medical exams and potentially training aviation medical examiners and things like that. So now we're starting to branch into the medical training and education side of things. And so some great things going on there. So today was the official kickoff of our peer support program called Uplift. So if you see students walking around with a shirt on or a jacket on that says Uplift, those are our peer supporters. And so, as you can see, a lot of great things going on in aerospace. Sorry if I took too long.
Yeah, that was certainly a lot of activity. And I'm thinking walking on the moon, walking on Mars, flying gas airplanes, flying electric airplanes. That's very exciting. And flying paper airplanes and honeybees, which fly wherever honeybees want to fly, I guess. So with that, we'll move on to Dean Cindy Juntunen of the College of Education and Human Development.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here this afternoon. I am happy to talk a little bit about some of the highlights of things that are happening in EHD. Just some brief things first, as an overview. EHD is split into 2 large interdisciplinary departments. We did that a few years ago by design to kind of facilitate increased collaboration and get some new synergy and ideas in the college. We have roughly 1,300 students enrolled in the college. 60% of them are graduate students, including a little over 250 doctoral students. So it's a very graduate intensive program, lots and lots of dissertation advising. That's 250 students doing dissertations at any given point in time. So that's a lot of great, wonderful work and really good thriving activity. We have right now about 60 some faculty in the college, but we are currently in the process of searching for 16 new faculty positions. And I am thrilled to say that our positions closed on the 1st of November. And we got good pools for all 16. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's one area that is not yet a real area in academia that we are desperately looking for someone. But anyway, because we have a new program in esports, which is super exciting. Finding an esports faculty member, very challenging. So anyway, so they don't have a huge pool, but we're really, really excited about the status and the energy and lots and lots of interviews going on in our college right now. So that's a cool kind of broad overview thing. A couple of college highlights. This year's North Dakota Teacher of the Year, Ivana Todorovich, is one of our alums and also one of our adjunct faculty, and we are thrilled. She is many of you who have had kids in the Grand Forks School District have probably run across her. She's a fantastic teacher and really deserving of that North Dakota Teacher of the Year award. Mark Sanford, one of our alums, was a recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Award this year at Homecoming, and we were really thrilled about that as well. We just finished the site visit for our CAPE accreditation review in our teacher ed programs, which is a massive activity that someday I'll be happy to go into detail about, but not today. Anyway, and we won't know the final outcome of that until after their March meeting, but we've already gotten back the initial report and we're really tickled with the response of the site visitors. We're feeling really good about that. So those are some of the highlights that are of things that have happened recently. In the last 5 years, the grant expenditures in the college have doubled. This is a big deal for us. We have really been working hard in the college college to increase our research productivity and our grant writing, some really concerted efforts that we put in place several years ago. We've established a lot of new infrastructure in the college to support faculty. We have a very vibrant Associate Dean's Office that's working on things. We have a new Bureau of Evaluation and Research Services that supports faculty efforts. We have a number of incentive programs in place to support faculty research and grant writing, and we are really seeing that pay off this last year, and we're really thrilled with that. Related to that, this year for the first time, we have leadership pathways in the college to support faculty who are interested in pursuing administrative training. And so we have our first 3 leadership scholars in the college, and we're really excited about those opportunities for faculty this year. And I'll also put in a little plug for something we're doing for professional development this year. We increased our professional development awards for all faculty, and we included all clinical faculty as well as tenure track faculty in getting full professional development. And that may be something other colleges are already doing, but for us, it was a big jump toward really making sure that everybody had equal access to travel. And we're really excited about that move, and it's helping us maintain some positive forward-thinking faculty growth in the college. So we're really excited about that. And we're working hard to maintain and establish our role as leaders in rural education and also behavioral health. And so with that, I'm going to spend the rest of my time talking about kind of a different kind of angle, which is the things that we are doing to support the state of North Dakota in the college. We take our social justice role really seriously in the college. We are very focused on the way in which we can use the talent and skills of faculty and students to support the larger social good. And all of you are probably aware there's a couple of areas of massive workforce shortage that are affecting not just North Dakota, but our entire region right now. And that's behavioral health, mental health care, and the teacher shortage. So I want to talk just a little bit about those 2 things, because I think they are so critical to the well-being of UND now, and frankly, UND in the future, right? So we train a lot of behavioral health care providers in the college. We have a large master's program in counseling, currently has an enrollment of about 100 students, and a smaller but very intensive program in counseling psychology that produces doctoral level psychologists that has about 30 students. We also, along with arts and sciences, run a clinic here on campus, Northern Prairie Community Clinic, which provides a lot of services, mental health services to low-income families. It's a really important area that gets missed. If any of you have happened to try to call and get an appointment for a counseling session now, in town, you will know probably that the wait list in town in most places exceeds 6 months. This is a huge problem. It's a huge, huge problem. If you want to try to get a child into counseling, you know, you probably won't even be able to get on a wait list, right? This is very bad. And it's not just our area. It cuts across our entire Northern Plains region. So we're working really hard on trying to figure out how to generate more opportunities to get more students into those programs, but also more opportunities for counties and towns that don't have any access to resources, including we have a very vibrant training program in telepsychology at the NPCC. And so we have contracts, for example, with a school district in Beach, North Dakota, which is right on the Montana border. They don't have a school counselor, or at least not a full-time school counselor. They have to have a school counselor, but they don't have someone there all the time. They can contract with us and get services for as little as $5 a session. So that's an example of the kinds of things that we're doing. In the teacher shortage area, which everybody I think knows about, North Dakota right now in the high need areas has 6 to 8% of the classrooms in North Dakota in high needs areas like special education and math and science are either not filled or filled with teachers who aren't fully qualified to be in those teaching positions. It's a real crisis for us. It's a crisis across the country, but it's definitely a crisis for us. And those are our future UND students, right? So like, this is like an example in my mind of the teaching shortage is like relevant to everybody. This isn't just about our college. We're keenly aware of it. We're really involved in it, but this is really important for the future of the university. So we've established a new Office of Teacher Recruitment and Retention with help from a strategic investment from the president and vice presidents, which is a huge deal for us. We've hired 2 new people in the college, Ashley Smalley and Monty Gockler, who are working in that arena, doing outreach to our rural school districts, engaging with a lot of teachers about some of the issues that are creating some problems for teacher retention right now. And we're also doing new approaches to getting more students into teaching. And this is something that we're taking very seriously. The shortage is also being exacerbated by the fact that teachers are feeling an awful lot of pressure right now, and it's causing people to not want to stay in the field, right? So I'm just going to put a plug out there. If you have a chance to support a local teacher, please do it. They are under so much pressure. They're being scrutinized a lot in their work, but beyond that, all of the kind of anxiety and depression and angst that has emerged during COVID has come right back into the classroom, right? Kids have gone through a shared trauma and they don't necessarily know how to manage it. And so the teachers are seeing that, and the teachers have gone through a shared trauma, right? And all of us who are a little bit fried here on campus, well, that's multiplied in these intense classroom experiences. So if you have a chance to tell a teacher, good job, like, take that opportunity, because our teachers are letting us know over and over and over that they need a boost and they need us to be in their corner. So we're working really, really hard on that. I think with that kind of energy, we're playing an important role in the future of the university, and there's a lot of positive energy in the college to keep us moving forward. So happy to share that with you and happy to answer any questions later if you have them.
I hope everybody would agree that teaching is probably one of the most important professions there is, seeing how our future depends on it. So thank you for the work that you and your colleagues do in the college. Next up, Dean Brad Rundquist from my home college, the College of Arts and Sciences.
Thank you and good afternoon. It's my pleasure to come and provide some updates on the College of Arts and Sciences today. And I'll just say before I start, in general, I think the college is in a really good spot, and I'm excited about the trajectory that we're on heading into the future. First, a little bit of background about the college. We have 18 departments split between 4 divisions. Those divisions are the fine arts, the humanities, math and science, and social sciences. And then we also have 7 interdisciplinary programs, including environmental studies, forensic science, pre-health programs, and international studies. People often ask me how many academic programs you have, and I say, well, I'm not sure. And of course, it always is changing a little bit, but I actually went through last night and added it up, so maybe I have an answer now, and I'll share it with you. A lot is my answer, typically. So we have 38 undergraduate majors in the college. We have 5 combined undergraduate, graduate programs, accelerated programs, 19 undergraduate minors, 24 graduate programs, and 23 certificates. We have about 200 faculty and 40 staff. And we had a net increase of 3 faculty between last spring and this fall. And I'm anticipating a net increase of about 5 faculty between the coming spring and next fall. We also are spread across campus. We have offices, our administrative and faculty offices are found in 8 separate buildings across campus. So we're all over the campus, mostly on the quad, but not entirely. My goals for the college remain to, number 1, deliver program excellence, 2, increase our student success and retention rates, and we have done that in recent years. Number 3, engage in research and creative activity that leads to improved quality of life in our region and beyond. Number 4, foster cross-disciplinary, cross-college collaborations, something is important to me, and I've been working on that for several years. Number 5, tell our stories of success more forcefully and more widely. Number 6, expand the college's reach and appeal to enroll more students in our programs. And number 7, strengthen our fundraising efforts. I am happy to report that our fall 2022 enrollment is 2,473 students, which is nearly a 2% increase from last fall. I'll also note that that's the first increase in fall semester enrollment since 2015. So we've had several years of declining enrollment. So happy to see that turn around a bit and hope that trend continues. We're working hard to make sure it does. Most of our students are undergrads, over 2,000 undergrads. Our grad enrollment is about 400. And just some interesting notes, 930 of our undergraduate majors are on campus only. Over 1,000, just over 1,000 are on campus, but they're taking some online courses. And then 455 are online only. As I mentioned earlier, we have seen some improvement in our retention rate, our freshman class retention rate. So we've been in the mid 70s, flirting with the high 70s occasionally over the last 5 or 6 years. For the 2021 freshman class, the retention was 82%. So we saw an increase there that's, I think, important and significant. Room for improvement, however. We're not going to be satisfied with that. We do continue to provide the bulk of the service credits at the university. So during academic year 21-22, arts and sciences accounted for 45% of the university's total undergraduate enrollment in terms of student credit hours of instruction, College of Instruction. And research, we saw an impressive effort again by our faculty in the areas of research and creative activity. We had about 200 individual projects products, again, hundreds of different research presentations, exhibitions, and performances. So very proud of our faculty and their research. In terms of funded research, I'm also pleased to report a 55% increase in our direct research expenditures between FY21 and FY22. I think that's going to continue and to grow as university, state, college investments in things like space and national security, behavioral health, transportation research, along with several other areas, initiatives. When those things mature and begin to pay dividends, I expect that number to grow. Our budget's in good shape. We had several years of having to cut expenses. We've also benefited from student credit hour production that's exceeded my conservative forecasting. And so our budget's in a pretty good shape right now. It seems to be sustainable, although of course, many of the variables that impact our budget are unknown at this time and they change rapidly. So we're always on the watch there and prepared to react. A major project this year is development of a new strategic plan for the college. That's an effort led by our faculty and staff, significant input from students and alumni and other stakeholders. We're going to finalize that plan by summer 2023. We've been engaged in a few major renovation projects on campus the last few years. So we've renovated the second floor of O'Kelly Hall. Looking at Jim, that's his home now. It's also home to his colleagues in the Department of History and American Indian Studies, Communication, Criminal Justice, and Anthropology. And we're deeply engaged in planning for the renovation of Merrifield and Plumley Halls. The renovation of Merrifield Hall is set to start after the holiday break. And so the faculty currently in that department, or in that building, next door, English, philosophy, religious studies, languages, and theater arts will be moving to Gamble Hall here shortly, about a month from now. Our alumni and that's a temporary move. They'll be moved back to Merrifield after the renovation. Our alumni continue their strong support of arts and sciences students, faculty, and programs with their giving. The college has a strong partnership with our Alumni Association and Foundation. And over the since fiscal year 17, we've raised about $25 million in arts and sciences. So a lot of credit goes to the foundation, of course, but also to our faculty working to engage our alumni, as well as students. I want to mention that several arts and sciences faculty have also been engaged in the important work of repatriation. Their work's been vital. And before this group, I just wanted to publicly acknowledge and thank them for their work, and then reaffirm that the college stands fully behind that effort and continues to support that effort however it can. I'll finish. President Armacost has designated this the year of gratitude, I believe. So I wrote down some things I'm grateful for. I'll take just a few minutes or maybe 1 minute to read. Also Thanksgiving coming up. I wanted to share these things. So things I'm grateful for in terms of the College of Arts and Sciences is our students for their hard work in the classroom, their amazing achievements, their service and their activism on campus and in the broader community. 2, our staff who go the extra mile every day to support students and faculty and generally ensure that we can keep the place open and keep things running smoothly. Faculty for their dedication to student learning and success, incredible volume and quality of their scholarly activities, and the important services they provide to the college and university. And lastly, our alumni for incredible generosity that they show in support of the College of Arts and Sciences. Thank you.
So we've heard from some of our colleges, and obviously there are other colleges here. We'll hear updates from some of the other ones in the spring session, but I wanted to certainly leave time for President Armacost. And we also, I'm sure everybody's aware that we've got this strategic planning going on in the university. And I think we're in the home stretch of that. Jim and Lynette will correct me if I'm wrong about that. But I wanted to make sure that we included an update from Jim and Lynette, who are leading the strategic planning work, because it's so vital in how we create a path forward. And then we'll follow that with the State of the University address from President Armacost. Thanks.
Well, hello, folks. My name is Jim Mochoruk, and you all know Lynette. We are the co-chairs of the Strategic Planning Committee. Now, back in February, President Armacost set us a daunting task: create an aspirational and open-ended plan for UND's future. A plan that would commence with clear mission and vision statements, and that would embody the voices, opportunities, and talents of all of UND's constituents and stakeholders, and have it ready for December. Well, we very quickly like to think we hit the ground running. We developed a timeline and a process that we hoped would accomplish this. A process that was designed to be open and transparent, inclusive and welcoming, and engaged in a seemingly never-ending feedback loop. We're particularly proud to report that to date, over 700 people have participated in one of our strategic planning events, while more than 900 have responded to our various surveys, and approximately 500 more have taken the time to be in one or more of our focus groups. And this doesn't even include the approximately 200 people who served on the SBC or on one of the work groups or one of the advisory bodies. Now, the discovery phase of our work, running from February till August, was arguably the most labor-intensive and yet intellectually rewarding part of the work. We began by recruiting an incredible team of 16 people to serve on the Strategic Planning Committee, some of whom are in this room today. People who represented faculty, staff, and students and alumni from as many areas as was possible. And even before the team was fully assembled, President Armacost hosted a major launch event, and not only set the parameters of our work at that event, but also allowed us to begin our first efforts at data collection via the brag, worry, wonder, bet exercise that so many of you in this room participated in, either in person or online. The results of that exercise, plus the information contained in two really excellent recently completed task force reports on the future of higher education and on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a careful examination of what had been accomplished under the One UND plan and the grand challenges. All of this was utilized by the SBC to draft a Qualtrics survey that was used to help determine what the members of the UND community wanted from the institution as it moved forward. Now, even as this survey was being sent out, we launched a series of town hall meetings targeted at faculty and staff, and we began hosting on-campus outreach sessions with students, staff, and alumni. By mid-March, the SBC had taken all this information that gathered to date, and in a marathon set of meetings, and some of you who are in this room will remember those well, or try to put them out of your memory, we actually came up with the 7 themes or pillars that would almost certainly, in one way or other, have to be reflected in any strategic plan for the university. And we also drafted a whole series of questions that we felt needed to be answered within those topics. Well, we then had to recruit another incredible team. And we were incredibly successful. We had 1 negative response to all the phone calls and emails that we sent out. We got an incredible team of leaders, 2 or 3 for each one of the groups. And we set up an open nomination and self-nomination process for participation in the work groups. And the response was truly overwhelming. We had so many people who wanted to be part of the process that our co-captains couldn't accommodate everyone in the work groups. But we didn't want to waste any single bit of talent or enthusiasm. So even if you weren't chosen to sit on one of the work groups or participate, we found a way to make sure that everyone was going to be involved in one of the focus groups or serve as on an advisory body to one of the work groups. So we hope that no one was left untouched. We reached out to everyone. These work groups have really been crucial to the work of the Strategic Planning Committee. And once fully staffed in April, they launched into their work of research, consultation, and outreach to key stakeholders and with incredible dedication and vigor. The SBC and the work groups immediately launched an ambitious program of reaching out to student and faculty groups for input, primarily through focus groups, surveys, an open house at Memorial Union, and several other such fora. However, once the semester ended, the focus shifted dramatically. From May until August, the Strategic Planning Committee and its work groups conducted approximately 50 focus group or listening sessions, primarily with staff and community folks, with once again, community very, very broadly defined to include what is actually a global UND community. And for those of you who are curious, meeting notes from the 50 focus groups, plus the results of all of our surveys, copies of all the documents, et cetera, they're all available. We want this process to be as transparent and open as possible. Based upon everything that we learned, by the end of July, the work groups had produced preliminary reports that listed key priorities and recommendations within each of the 7 themes assigned to them by the SBC. In the meantime, in addition to serving as liaisons to all the work groups and hosting focus groups, the Strategic Planning Committee produced first drafts of mission, vision, and core value statements. At this point, the SBC's quite incredible support team, Anna Clark and Rob Carolyn, plus the communications subcommittee, brought together all this material and distributed it to over 70 UND leaders, faculty, students, Senate leaders, everyone. And here the assembled leaders heard from the co-captains of each work group and the co-chairs of the SBC. We summarized our work. And then we engaged in a process where we broke everyone down into smaller groups, and they all came around and they met representatives of each one of the work groups or the SBC and gave us their feedback, their critique. The feedback that we received was incredibly crucial as the SBC redrafted and redefined the mission, vision, and core value statements. And the work groups, all of whom actually met their deadlines. I was so impressed. I've been teaching for a long time. I've never had that many people meet a deadline. But when they submitted their final reports to the SBC on August the 31st, their reports all reflected, or at least addressed in some important way, the feedback that they'd gotten from this group of folks. Now, even before the final work group reports came in to the Strategic Planning Committee, the co-chairs, Lynette and myself, presented revised visions of the mission, vision, and core value statements to the President's expanded Executive Council. And the reception was quite positive. But there were still some comments that had to be addressed. There's always comments. Did I mention we live in a constant feedback loop? I'm sure we'll get comments after this that will be worked out at a meeting tomorrow at 11 o'clock. In any event, if any of you are bored, you can come and help us rewrite. But the SBC took the final, their additional feedback, and once again, we tweaked the mission, vision, and core value statements, and this time we sent out the draft for full public comment. We used Qualtrics survey. We sent it out not just to the university community, but to our much broader UND community. And well over 300 faculty, staff, students, alums, and community partners responded to our survey. And many provided not just basic responses to our questions, but extremely useful and well thought out comments and critiques. It's amazing the time that people put into this. And even as that feedback was coming in, the Strategic Planning Committee began the process of amalgamation and harmonization of all the final reports from the work groups. The goal was to produce a full draft of the document and take it before the larger UND community for, once again, more feedback. We want to stress just how constant this feedback loop has been, if I haven't stressed it enough. The mission, vision, and core value statements in particular have been informed by the critical comments that we've received from the extended campus community and have been revised accordingly several times. And it's probably worth noting that the results of the Qualtrics survey on these have actually been quite positive, indicating to us that we were at least on the right track in these crucial basic areas. It's also of some importance to note that the greatest challenge to the Strategic Planning Committee to date was taking the final reports of the 7 work groups, analyzing the findings, recommendations, and priorities contained therein, and creating a coherent plan. Actually, we thought of this process of more of an exercise in harmonization than as a matter of construction. Because what we discovered was that the over 20 key priorities identified by our work groups fit quite organically into one or more of the leads, and you've all seen our great little mnemonic device. Our core leads values. This came to us as a bit of a shock, almost a bolt out of the blue, but it really shouldn't. I mean, we were pleasantly surprised, but given how close we had all been, how much interaction there'd been throughout this entire process, how we shared the data that kept on coming in, it shouldn't be surprising that we really came to some very, very similar conclusions about what was most important. So we appreciate that sort of synergy.
Thanks, Jim. So our hope was that the draft document which we did release on October 13th to the community would be seen as a manageable, doable, and yet still aspirational draft of UND's new strategic plan and would be near perfection. Not the case. We're still redrafting. We had agonized over the preamble to the document and the 3 paragraphs following the vision statement, which sought to explain the linkage between the proposed vision and what we identified initially as our 5 pillars or foundations. They were sense of wonder, love of discovery, commitment to serve, inclusive excellence and equity and belonging. But you will still see those in the plan, even though we're not necessarily using those particular words as our pillars. They're still defined under our main pillars. Our goal with the preamble and the paragraphs following the vision statement had been to create a narrative, a story, if you will, that would set the tone for the whole document. Well, as a poet once noted, the best laid plans of mice and men sometimes go astray. To be sure, there was much that was positive in this draft. For example, the Qualtrics survey information which accompanied the release was quite encouraging. Over 86% of the respondents strongly agreed that they both supported UND leads, which we are still using, and found it understandable, while approximately 70% agreed that it was achievable, reflected UND's priorities, was inclusive of all constituencies, and would help the university move forward. So very positive. However, when we dug into the written comments and considered the less formal feedback we were receiving verbally, in person, and also through direct emails, it was clear that there was still several areas that needed improvement. So we are listening to everyone that is giving us feedback. We've gone through this feedback and revised a proposed plan to address the issues raised. The most dramatic change proposed to the draft that everyone did see on October 13th is this. We have effectively combined the previous shared values and the strategic pillars. This was something the SPC had thought about doing approximately even 2 months ago, but had decided against it primarily so that we could be more fulsome in our explanations of what UND did and should stand for. However, we had some very well taken feedback indicating that the overlap between the two was somewhat confusing. So we went back to Plan A and effectively collapsed the shared values along with the pillars, while retaining the acronym of LEADS. This did involve some minor renaming and moving about of bullet points from the previous pillars. Learning, discovery, service, and equity remained much the same. However, accountability has been reconfigured into affinity. We have also reduced the number of bullet points in order to keep them to a more manageable set of aspirational goals, and we hope people can remember and rally around them. This brings us to a very important set of considerations. If you were to strip out all the illustrative stories, the images, the president's message from our current draft, you would really have about 4.5 pages of text for the strategic plan. Clearly, such a document cannot take full account of all the recommendations and detailed analysis of our 7 wonderful working groups and the SPC. But we also realize that many of these recommendations can be handled in a more effective manner than putting them into a mix of an overly long and detailed strategic plan where they might actually get overlooked and lost. Remember, this is not a prescriptive plan. It's a plan where everyone can and should see themselves part of and doing the work to move UND forward. Thus, the SPC has decided to take a somewhat unusual step. With support from UND administration, we'll be sending memos to key campus leaders with the copies of the appropriate work group reports, asking them to use the information contained therein as they work on their own unit's plans, their own strategic plans. In effect, these recommendations will become part of the larger ongoing effort known as integrated planning. This will allow for immediate action to be taken on a number of matters without the inevitable delay associated with inaugurating any new overall strategic plan. We feel that the current draft is in pretty good shape, but still work to be done. before we submit it to President Armacost and again to the public. For example, we're keenly aware that we need far more metrics to help us assess progress. And a subcommittee of the SPC is currently working on that. And some of the metrics will be left to be determined because we don't feel that we should be prescribing, and we're not shirking our responsibilities, but we want different groups to be able to come up with their own metrics and really own that work. So, and we'll also be coming up with a standardized way for all of us to track progress on the plan's work. So beyond this, because the goal is to create a living plan which lives within the real world boundaries of actual budgets, Jim and I and others within our leadership team have been meeting with representatives of the Vice President of Finance Office, including HR, in order to get a better sense of how we can fit this plan into existing and still evolving financial planning models. Thinking about the Myra model in the budget cycle. So how do we move this forward and fit it into our current way of work, of operating? Finally, we're thinking about the ways in which progress on the plan will be communicated to campus. This would include an annual event that will serve as a time to talk about successes from the past year, discuss areas that still need work, and set priorities for the year ahead. In effect, we're looking for ways of replicating the success we've had in our strategic planning process in initiating and continuing conversations that help to make all of our constituencies feel that they have a voice and a place in the future of UND. Thus, in addition to these annual review sessions, we'll also be looking for other ways to keep the channels of communication open and involve all constituencies who have been integral to UND leads. If all goes according to plan, we've outlined for you our revisions and planning work will be completed in December, and all that will remain will be for the president to accept our plan and put it into place. So being optimists, we've already scheduled a strategic plan launch event for January 20th at 1 p.m. in the Memorial Union. And naturally, you're all invited to attend. So thank you.
Clearly, strategic planning is a marathon and not a sprint, but it's a team event. So a lot of work has gone into that. And thank you very much for the update. At this point, I'm just going to hand it straight to President Armacost for his State of the University address.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. And 2 years ago, when they said, we need you to speak at University Council, I said, great. And then the ad came out and it said, President Armacost presents the State of the University. And I thought, uh-oh, we're going to have trouble because all I'm doing is talking. And if you look at the University Council description in the Constitution, I think it says that the Senate Chair and the President of the University give comments. So welcome to the State of the University. Thanks to everybody for speaking today and just the great information that you've shared about all the great work that's happening. And I took a very similar approach about what's happening from the ground up. I actually, in fact, reached to all of the Executive Council and said, what would you like me to share? So my comments today are really a reflection of what's on their minds. The good news is the list that I had written off to the side, I think everything I thought we should focus on, they did as well, which shows good alignment, but they actually added many pieces that I think you will enjoy that I hadn't thought of as well. So having the format that we have today with the deans speaking first actually relieves you of an important burden, and that's listening to me speak for an hour and a half. I appreciated, again, all the voices that we heard and the great initiatives that are happening throughout the university. We have dubbed this year, as I think Brad was the one who mentioned it, the year of gratitude. And I think it's important for each of us to focus in our own individual ways about how we can express that sense of gratitude to one another and to share it with our students and our colleagues. And what I have such gratitude for all the vice presidents and the members of the EC who do so much for this university. But then again, all the deans, all the directors, everybody throughout the university for coming together in this post-COVID world to come together and do just amazing things across the campus. So let me start with those amazing things. And I'll start with comments from our Division of Student Affairs and Vice President Dr. Beth Helwig. And as you know, Beth is leaving us in January. She was here on an interim basis, and she's done amazing work as the leader of her division. And that we will then welcome our permanent Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Art Malloy, who will show up at the same time that Beth is stepping off. And Art is joining us from the University of North Carolina, Pembroke. So here are some items from them that I think are really worthy of mention. The opening of Brannan and McVeigh this year. So Brannan's renovation and McVeigh was a new build as our residence halls with the successful transition of all the students from Walsh Hall into their new home in McVeigh. And then West Hall will open up over the summer. Food is important to our campus as well. And in addition to our incredibly strong student dining services and our UND catering, we're proud of alternatives that we offer on campus, including new self-service micromarts peppered throughout the campus, as well as our, and this is an important program, the Food for Thought Food Pantry, which this year alone has serviced more than 200 students facing food insecurity. You'll also see sometime soon autonomous food delivery vehicles called Kiwi Bots that will be delivering food from the Memorial Union to locations across the campus. We're also proud of our TRIO programs. This is our program, federal programs that serve first generation and income eligible students. And on November 8th, we had celebrated each of our first generation students with our first ever campus-wide First Gen Day of Celebration event. Student health services, as you heard earlier, have been active across the campus, both for physical health and mental health and behavioral health support. Support to the campus behavioral health needs include the widespread adoption of a program, I think, Bob, you had mentioned it, the Green Bandana Project, which began actually in the athletic department and then transitioned more broadly to the entire campus. It involves now more than 350 students who have volunteered to wear green bandanas on the backpacks and then offer support, behavioral health support, just moral support, peer support. They're not counselors, but they're making a statement that says, we're here to help you and to get you the resources that you need. And our University Counseling Center continues to offer incredible services to our students and recently added a new counselor, as Bob mentioned, to support behavioral health within the aviation program. But in addition, the entire counseling team is now certified to offer behavioral health services across 6 states. So they have the certifications to do that. And then we're proud, of course, to our new Memorial Union, a physical gathering space where that sense of community comes alive. And it's open now for about a year. And we're so pleased with the services that it offers all of our students, faculty, and staff members. Let me now turn to our Division of Academic Affairs and appreciate the support of our Provost and Vice President, Eric Link, who's here now in his second year at UND. He highlights our commitment to reinvigorating the sense of shared governance across the campus. And you've seen that through efforts like our strategic planning process, which is a ground up effort. And thank you again to Jim and Lynette for their incredible work, as well as the charge to the University Senate's Budget Committee to look at how we can integrate them more directly into the annual budget process, as well, probably most importantly, into the strategic investment process here at UND. This fall, we're proud to announce that UND has its 5-year high in overall enrollment into our programs, and our incoming class this year had 8 National Merit Scholar finalists and semifinalists. The average GPA of the new freshman class jumped from 3.47 to 3.58 this year, and we had a 3% increase in presidential scholars for the fall of 2021. We have 477 first-year presidential scholars enrolled in a total of 1,157 total presidential scholars. This is the largest number of presidential scholars we've had at UND at any given point in time. We also had 11 students receive 12 national scholarships last year, and Sydney Meny is a finalist for both the Marshall Scholarship and the Rhodes Scholarship. She found out last week that she did not earn the Rhodes, although she interviewed as a finalist, and we're still waiting, fingers crossed, on the results of the Marshall Scholar program. And if you think of the Marshall Scholar, Justice Stephen Breyer was a Marshall Scholar. I'm thinking of some others. Tom Friedman, the Pulitzer Prize winning author and New York Times columnist, also a Marshall Scholar. So we'll see what lay ahead for Sydney. But we also have additional on-campus scholarships that were expanded for veterans and military-friendly students through the Vets to Wings program and also the Heart of America Patriot Scholarship. So these are opportunities that come to our veterans. On accreditation, there's a lot of accreditation activities happening. I won't go through all of them, but we have accreditations in each college or school from 35 different academic bodies. And during the last academic year, UND completed reaccreditation or site visits for degrees and programs in 14 different academic areas and one non-academic area, namely student health services. So a lot of activity in terms of maintaining the national standard that we need to sustain our accreditation. During the last academic year, we added 15 new programs, whether undergraduate programs, graduate programs, certificates, graduate certificates. So a lot of work there. And we adopted a new, you might have it on your phone, a new mobile app called My UND app. So I can see you getting on the App Store right now to download it, but it's a way for us to share information better with the data literate generation and also you as well, who might be encroaching on data literacy yourselves. So the app was actually nominated for 2 national awards. And then you heard also from 2 of our deans about the officer teacher recruitment and retention. Thanks, Cindy, for that piece. And then Bob talked about the Aviation Mental Health Symposium. So tremendous work happening there. And then finally, we celebrated Nistler Hall, but in addition, the renovation of Merrifield. And the one that didn't get mentioned was the creation of our esports space in the basement of Swanson Hall. So this is an exciting opportunity for us to delve into the world of esports. And the university won 2 important international awards. The first was from the American Council on Education. We won their Institutional Transformation Award about all the great things happening on campus, and also the Witchy Colleagues Choice Innovation Award for all of the work that we're doing on open educational resources, free textbooks for our students. I should mention the work that's happening within our Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which has been active in building a sense of belonging for everyone on our campus and pulling our campus together. And this is, of course, under the leadership of Dr. Tambaqui Bailey and his team. Among the key initiatives were our inaugural conference on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which attracted hundreds of people from across the state and the region and had amazing keynote speakers. We've made thoughtful additions to our professional staff in support of DEI, including Tambaqui's addition as the special assistant to the president for D&I, as well as a full-time director for the Pride Center and an upcoming hire that's happening right now for our director of the American Indian Center. So this represents an important investment by the university in making sure that we're offering those important DEI services to important groups on our campus. The Office of Student Diversity and Inclusion has had a steady pace of events throughout the year. Perhaps you participated in them, but they're doing a great job getting the word out about the support that they're providing and the special events to recognize these diverse groups. DEI and accessibility has certainly been key components of our strategic planning discussions. It's one of the key pillars, as Jim and Lynette just mentioned. And we have ongoing commitments, as Brad talked about repatriation. And let me mention 2 who have been key members, Professor Crystal Alberts and Lane Lyons from our foundation. They're doing incredible work, along with a committee of about a dozen people on the repatriation efforts. Know that we are committed to seeing repatriation through till the very end. And furthermore, the action on campus, the technical work of repatriation is really underway beginning about 3 weeks ago. And this is an appropriate time, of course, for I as the president to mention our deep apologies to our Native American colleagues and friends and to the tribal nations for the missteps that we've had as a university. And again, our commitment is deep and rich to make sure we atone for the mistakes that we've made in the past. And then finally, we've adopted key advisory committees. We've reinstituted the PACW, which is now the PACW Plus. So this is the Presidential Advisory Committee on Women and Gender. We have a new faculty and staff advisory committee. It's called the GLBTQFSA. So supporting the LGBTQ plus community. It's a faculty staff advisory committee, again, with advice coming to the president and the executive committee. And then finally, we're reinstating a Native American coordinating committee across the campus. This has been defunct for about a decade or so. And we're, given our focus on support to Native American students, faculty, and staff, it's important that we reinstitute that advisory committee as well. And from the Division of Finance and Operations, we
just a quick time hack here. We welcome our newest vice president, Carla Mojon Stewart, who's doing an incredible job. She stepped up from the AVP for finance position. You'd all be encouraged to know, first, I should say, in the beg, bets, worries, and wonders, the top sticky note was on what topic, Jim and Lynette? Parking, right? So we're working to make, it's not a strategic issue, but it gets in the way of strategic progress. So we're working to make improvements in parking and transportation to be more customer friendly and provide parking to students, staffs, and guests where and when they need it. And so this has begun with our adjustment to the approach to enforcement of parking rules, and we'll continue with changes to the overall design, the systemic design of the parking system through the work of the Campus Parking Committee. So this is good news. You should notice differences immediately. We're working also to identify long-term financial models where we can measure the return on investment of the investment we make in our programs and initiatives and projects across the campus. This ROI is not just an economic measure or a financial return. It's also returns in measures like student success, alignment with the university mission, and so on. So as we think about the success of our programs, we need to think about them holistically. And then in addition, Carla's team is beginning work on our 5th year review of the budgetary model known as MIRA, and to identify areas of improvement and adjustment to better serve you and the campus community. From our Division of Research and Economic Development, Vice President John Mihalic continues to do, and his team continue to do amazing things in terms of growing our national standing in research. The HERD survey, which is the NSF survey that measures research productivity for campuses, we see that our total R&D expenditures increased by nearly 30% in fiscal year 21 from the year prior, from $111 million to $143 million, a significant quantum jump, in my opinion, including a 32% increase in R&D expenditures coming from federal sources. So this is an important jump, and we know that in the next measurement, which happens for fiscal year 22, we'll see the same type of research output as in the previous year. John has been a leading voice in an important collaboration through the Mountain and Plains University Innovation Alliance. This is a multi-state, a 5-state partnership to look at the use and development of new technologies and to leverage university research and educational resources. And it's a formal channel of communication and cooperation on large projects across those states. And finally, we have a growth in our work on computational and data science. This was an initiative that started and had a misstart about 3 or 4 years ago, but I thought it was important to really focus on these areas, and we have direction from the NDUS to dig in deep on these areas. And so we have strategic investment in faculty hires for both cybersecurity and data science. And we have new academic programs in each of those areas. And certainly the growth of digitization and artificial intelligence open up opportunities for us to look holistically at those, what some people say, technical disciplines through the lens of law, policy, ethics, human behavior, and so forth. And so, so this work is not limited certainly to just the technical disciplines, but also other, I should say the science and engineering disciplines, but other disciplines as well. And we expect our research expenditures, again, to remain high across the board, but UND must be, and I have to emphasize this, must remain committed to scholarship across all academic disciplines, to value the breadth of activities that's happening across all of our colleges and schools. We have a vital role in creating new knowledge, and that new knowledge isn't just in the areas known as the grand challenges. However, we're going to continue focusing as well on the grand challenges and inviting participation from across the campus in those challenges and welcoming opportunities for new grand challenges as well. I should focus a little bit on athletics. I keep checking my watch. 5 minutes. Our athletic teams continue to do great things on the ice, on the fields, on the courts. Our director of athletics, Bill Chaves, continues to focus on what happens off the fields and focusing on the character and the leadership development of our student athletes. Here are 3 examples. The football team won its 2nd in a row Missouri Valley Football Conference Academic Award as the highest performing academic football team in the conference. Also, after 9 weeks of the Helper Community Service Challenge, UND is the tops in all of Division I again this year. This was as of November 1st. This was the award we won last year as the top community service athletic department in the entire nation. And in fact, Callie Honig from Scottsdale, Arizona, one of our student athletes, was the top student athlete for the month of October in terms of her contributions to community service. This is across the nation. And then third, in the spirit of partnership and unity, more than 15,000 UND fans poured into Las Vegas for a weekend of UND celebration. I'm highlighting this. There was a hockey game there too. What really struck me was the sense of community, the opportunity for people to come together as families, as friends, as classmates, to come together, to reunite, to share old stories, and just to be together. And that's what struck me about the event. The hockey game was wonderful. Too bad we lost. But it was really about coming together as a UND community. I should highlight our marketing and communications division, which is led by Vice President Melanie Linder, continues to tell the UND story across the nation. Our marketing and communications division, our web services and digital strategies division have made dramatic improvements in attracting undergraduate inquiries, which are up 62% this year, and graduate inquiries, which are up 120% over the previous year. And our search engine optimization boosted traffic coming through the UND website by 16.5%. So get the word out. We're attracting more and more students. Our communications team has grown media engagements about our students, staff, and faculty by 35% since 2020, culminating in 21,150 total media mentions in fiscal year 22. The total media engagements in fiscal year 22 led all of our peer institutions for the second year in a row, and we're 41% higher, or 6,000 more media mentions than our nearest competitor, who is 70 miles to the south, and who will lose this weekend, 21-17 to the mighty UND Hawks. And our marketing and creative strategies team is working hand in hand with admissions to grow enrollments, to emphasize our academic programs, including 18 new strategic investment programs through enhanced recruitment and marketing efforts. And the division's work has truly brought students to the campus and brought our campus to the world. Let me talk a little bit about the great work that's happening in the EERC, the Energy and Environmental Research Center, under the great leadership of CEO Charlie Gorecki. It continues to lead the way in developing technologies for cleaner, more sustainable, and reliable energy in the state of North Dakota, the United States, and the world. Current advances include the work on carbon capture and storage, the development of high-value carbon products like graphite and graphene to enable faster charging batteries, and also leading a multi-billion-dollar effort on the hydrogen hub in partnership with, this is a hydrogen hub proposal at this point, for North Dakota, Minnesota, Montana, and Wisconsin. And the EERC is proud to announce that it's been working with its departments and its individual members across the campus to develop and enhance diversity and inclusion, employee engagement, employee onboarding, and new employee ambassador programs, really to make UND a more inclusive campus. And they're doing their part to focus on DEI. The School of Medicine and Health Sciences, Joshua is a department or a school. He will be probably presenting, or Ken Ruitt will present in the spring. But I thought, as he serves as the Vice President for Health Affairs and a member of the Executive Council, I will capture his voice as well. Many of his school's programs also went through accreditation successfully, including the MD program through the Liaison Committee on Medical Education, the Masters of Public Health, which received full accreditation, and then also the Occupational Therapy Doctorate program as well, successfully went through the accreditation. And like much of the campus, the most recent academic year saw the most successful fundraising year in the history of the School of Medicine and Health Science, with a record-setting $11.8 million through philanthropic donations. And similarly, the academic year was the most successful in terms of grants and contracts, with a record-setting $48.7 million in grants and contracts coming to the School of Medicine and Health Sciences. And speaking of donor fundraising, let me finish these reports by focusing on a report from Deanna Carlson-Zink, the CEO of the foundation. This year was another banner year with $72.4 million in gift commitments, which was the second highest total ever in the history of the foundation. They increased the number of donors by 255. They had 1,300 first-time donors. And 10 new faculty endowments were created through this philanthropy. And the endowment payout was $11.1 million, which was the highest amount paid out over the past 5 years. So Deanna is certainly proud of the work of her development teams. It enables things like student scholarships, endowed professors, work on great facilities and high needs programs. So we're certainly proud of the partnership between UND and the foundation. This is just a sampling of the many great things that are happening across the campus. And let me thank everybody for their role in making this happen. And as we look to the upcoming year, we see a number of important focus areas, including the publishing of the strategic plan, preparation for the legislative session, focus on recruiting and retention of faculty and staff members, including examining pay equity, responding to the impact of inflation and making sure that we can continue the great operations on our campus, continuing to grow our great academic programs and our co-curricular programs to give our students the best experiences that they can get, growing our research programs in all areas across the campus, addressing the behavioral health needs of the students, faculty, and staff members, preserving free speech and academic freedom on our campus, a commitment to the sense of belonging for all, and to strive to be the most inclusive and equitable campus that we can be, where we eliminate barriers that impede our students' success and their growth. Responding to the uncertainty in Division I athletics, which I didn't talk much about, but just know the Transformation Committee will report their results in December, and we'll see what happens with the landscape of Division I athletics. And then, of course, the opportunity to continue coming together as a campus in forums like this, but also many other opportunities that exist here on campus. And let me state again my gratitude. This is the year of gratitude. We should all take the chance to say thanks to one another, but thanks to what you do for our university. Together, you create the sense of wonder, the sense of discovery, the sense of belonging, and the sense of community that makes the university so great. And as Jim and Lynette mentioned, the next chance to get together as a group like this is January 20th, where we unveil the strategic plan and proudly move ahead together as a community here at UND. Thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate your time and your effort on behalf of your students and all of us here at UND. And I don't think we're going to do time for Q&A, are we? Because we've hit our time limit.
Thank you, President Armacost. Yes, we had an ambitious schedule today, and I don't know what's legal as far as extending our time, if anybody has any questions, but I think that
You have to accept a motion to extend the length of the meeting.
I'm looking at our past chairs.
Oh, wait, don't we have a parliamentarian here? Jeff Eloy, what's?
No, we do not have a quorum. In that case, can we just ad hoc make up the time? So in the spirit of gratitude, I wanted to thank all of our presenters who presented this afternoon and President Armacost. And if everybody's willing to spend a few minutes, maybe we can see if there's any questions. If you're online and you have a question, we have a Q&A. Just put them in the Q&A then, please. Everybody's saying we need to leave and get home before the roads get worse.
Get too icy.
Any questions there? All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming in that case. And we look forward to January 20th and, of course, every day in between. Semester's not over yet. All right. Thanks, everybody.